Hey guys, how you doing? Okay, this is a game between. I'm gonna do the. I'm gonna do. Sorry, Hikaru as black and Shaq as white. This is actually from the Blitz category of the Paris Grand Tour, and Nakamura won. So congrats, Naka. So let's do it. All right, D4, knight f6, f3, f3, e6, Trompowsky attack the system, and then c5. This is kind of, if you want to think about it, this is saying to Shock, if you take, thank you for developing my bishop. So you can't take. Then boom, d5. It's like, wow, in comes the boom, or here comes the boom. Knight c6, castles, bishop d7, Naka's gonna castle, and then bd7 or bd2, and then b6, and at this, oops, sorry about that. I need to minimize this so that you guys can see that I'm here. Okay, perfect. All right. Sorry, I was at Max Film. Bishop d7, and if you notice, they're almost all developed, all their pieces, and it's kind of almost symmetrical in some look, if you want to think about it, except for this pawn and this pawn. It's the same, and for this bishop being here, that bishop being there, so it's kind of like these pieces are well, I guess it's not symmetrical, but it looks interesting, almost drawish to me. Rook ac1 takes, takes, and rook e7, e8. This kind of prepares so that if the knight ever comes in here, we always have a route there. Also, if the knight comes in here, let me see. What does that actually do? Trying to see what actually does that move do. What idea does it have? Because there's usually ideas behind the moves. I know it's to protect the bishop. Oh, I got it. To protect the bishop and then play bishop f8. Okay. Because he's mounting a pretty sizable attack on black, so that allows for the bishop to be placed on f8. That's what it is. And to get the queen off of this attack here, because if he would have kept the queen on and then played, let's see, and played here, this is a threat now. So you got to be careful. So like when you take, he takes back, and there is an isolated pawn. So I don't know. Little interesting there. So now he's going to try to implant a knight there, or potentially go bishop here, knight there. There's a lot. Queen. Oh, you gotta love that. It's like woof, right on in. And now once he plays there, when the knight moves back, you could play bishop takes, knight takes, and then bishop takes and knight takes, and it's equal, and black has a better pawn structure for an endgame. It's kind of odd. I want to see if that was actually the best move in this line. So Shaq did not play the best move. That was actually a mistake there. .95. And he's slowly building the pressure. G5 attacking the queen. In comes the rook. Takes. And now there's a pin. Potentially that's a move. Boom, there goes, drops another pawn. And the rook's gonna start coming right over to H6, and oh baby, you're gonna love that. Yeah, at this point, the king goes here, you get a bishop move. And then if the rook takes, you do a double check. And then if the king moves back, you just grab that. And now you're up material. This was an interesting move. I didn't understand why he didn't play it. Because if he takes here, you play rook takes, and if pawn takes here, you get mate. So rook's gonna have to come there. At this point, it's a one game. Because you were threatening mate, he had to exchange. Now you have a total dominating position, 4 pawns. Yeah, it's all over. So now we're gonna do Wesley versus MVL. All right. Let's do it to it. Knight C6. The Italian game. And bishop G4. So now there's a pin, so you have to be careful. You're going after That's good. I'm glad. So what? Yeah, I'm glad you are. It's a gift the Lord's given me, and I want to honor Him with it. So I'm glad you're enjoying it. Okay, so bishop knight takes d6, because if you want to think about it, this does apply because he's trying to get rid of the two bishop advantage for black. So, but he does have a kind of erect structure. So you kind of have to decide what is what's the give and take, because every move has a your give and take to it. Like this move, he does black, or Wesley doesn't have his other dark square bishops. So in theory, bishops of opposite color are usually drawn. So that's kind of what MVL is thinking, that potentially he always has in his pocket a draw. It's because usually this is a draw, because I'd have to put your pawns on light squares if all these pieces were off the board. White would put his pawns on dark squares, and black would put his pawns on dark squares, sorry, and white would put his pawns on light squares. Therefore, they both would have targets. So, in theory, it's a draw. That's kind of why they were saying that. And usually a bind would happen at that point too, because white wouldn't have a lot of space because of the pawns would be all on light squares, and white would be able to, through his king, protect them. So queen takes, knight takes, and so Wesley actually is going for a big attack. This is huge, because what you're planning on doing is playing rook to a5 to challenge the pawn, or potentially maybe even a5 and doubling up. We have a problem with this knight though, so you have to kind of deal with that. And it's like what do you do here? Because you really there's not much black could do but push that pawn, and it's also protected twice by a knight and a rook. So in theory, this rook is free to roam the board because the knight guards the a4 pawn. So maybe that was Wesley's plan, was to, rather than have a rook guard a4, the knight to guard a4, and then you can maybe centralize your rooks and have an attack. So bishop f4 to see if MVL can't undermine c7, because when you see a target like a weak point, you usually go for it. Like there's nothing guarding c7, so he figures why not kind of try to provoke a weakness with c6. Or maybe I have to bring a rook over. One of these rooks has to come over to guard. So this bishop ties down a major piece to a protection of the pawn. So see, he did play fc8, rook fc8, and now in theory, the computer says that black is slightly better, not slightly better. Black is a 0.1 better, which is basically equal in computer terms. So knight c4 would actually be a pretty critical move in this position. This would be very strong, because you're undermining also now the b2 pawn on black. So in theory, now white would either have to go d2. He wouldn't want to go e2 because a bishop could attack that. So he kind of wants to put his pieces on dark squares, which is not the same color as black's bishop. And there comes the knight. It's come rushing in, because if pushed here, Wesley could take and then have a huge open. It'd be something like this: if push, if takes, knight takes, and then you have the second rank is all Wesley's, and it's basically attack. So the rook has to. Oops, interesting. He put it on a light square. I guess at this moment you really couldn't. I don't know. Maybe you could actually at this point play h5. Kind of get a little aggressive on the king side. Undermine this pawn here maybe. Because this is really an airy king. There's points of entry all around the king, except this can't be yet. So I'll just say these are points, and mainly this right here is a point that is no longer defended. Boom, there we go. So if takes, he doesn't have to worry about this rook. This pawn anymore because there's no rook on a1, so he, in theory, can. If bishop takes, of course, he loses a rook, so MVL is not going to do that. So he's coming back to guard this pawn's forced. So Wesley has accomplished a big goal. In theory, he's almost slightly better because his knight's optimally placed. His rooks are okay placed as well, and in theory he can push and almost get it down the board to queening. Like if he plays here and then he pushes up, Wesley could just keep pushing, and if takes, you queen. So king f8 is played to guard because he wants to keep this rook. If rook takes, he'll take now with the king, and then he keeps his rook on like what they usually say in chess. If you have a pass pawn or a potential pass pawn, you always have a rook behind it to support it up the board. So that's why the a8 rook is so splendid being on. It's a beautiful sight to see the rook on a8 because we're coming right up the board. f4. So now he's thinking about trapping the bishop. So he takes, and then f6. Ain't gonna do it. Not gonna happen because knight f6, f4, or sorry, f5 would be played. Then the bishop could actually go to e. So if this is played here, this pawn's gonna fall. Because if it plays here, we just take that. Or we could just, to keep our structure intact, we could just play knight takes. So I probably would take with the knight. That's what I do. Because I don't know. Do we want to? Let's see what the computer says. Which one it likes. But oh, okay, it does like. So it likes the pawn takes. Well, it does, if you think about it, it does make practical sense because then you can actually kind of jam the pawn up that way, and you do have a pretty compact pawn chain. So I guess it does make some sense. Sorry, he comes, takes, king takes, there, rook c8. Bishop is protecting the knight. So this is actually a blitz game, so we're having a pretty interesting move sequence. The king's moving, king moves back. So they must be getting low on time here because they moved back forth a little bit. 1 second, I'm gonna drink water. Alright. Boy, very dubious right there. That's not a really good move, because that allowed for an infiltration of this rook, and you really don't want to keep your bishop passive like that. So Yeah, this was actually a really good move. Another bad. No, don't. That was a bad move taking. This is actually the best because now you're threatening a fork. So the king would actually have to move to e3 to block that, and then you have bishop d5 to undermine this structure. Get in behind, like that. So like if knight c2, bishop g2, pawn h, bishop here, and then you grab a pawn. Boom, there's your pawn. So, but he took with the pawn rather than, so that was kind of dubious as well. Which means it's not that it's bad, it just doesn't, dubious means it doesn't have any part in the play of the game. It's more of a reactive move. So if you want to think of, if you think of dubious as reactive and interesting as kind of you're making a plan, bringing a plan together like Play-Doh, you can make things out of it. That's kind of what interesting means in like with notation. Dubious move is a question mark and an exclam. An interesting move is an exclam question mark, and that's a kind of like a thought that could potentially work and maybe could not, but it's playable and it would make your opponent have to ponder that type of thought. So bishop takes, nice. That's winning in my opinion. I like that. Takes. Ooh, Wesley's got to be really careful here though, because it's coming down to a bishops of opposite color. So he is up one pawn. I believe he's going to have enough time to get to the location. Oh, so MVL cuts him off there. E8. So that's the only problem with doing that, is you have to put your pawns on the same color as your bishop. So it's like, check, and so the king's kind of takes. King d2 is, he should have stayed more intact with his pawn. b5, and then it's still winning for white. I mean for black. This C move was a losing move. It's the move that basically loses, because now there's really no place for the bishop to flee to. If he goes there, you can actually undermine it with b. So if he goes here, you just play b4. I mean b3, and it's like, oh, what happens? You can't take. So let's say that he plays back. At this point, you just take. Or wait a second, my bad there. You wouldn't take. That's a bad move. That's actually winning. So he can't actually move back. So the only move would be to move away. And then what you'd have to do is, now you can bring your pawn chain domination up the board. And if he tries something like that, he can't walk off that. He can't walk. That's right. He can't actually go off that. So I have to delete that. He'd have to move back, which is another kind of dubious. And now this holds this bishop forever. So now the king is going to have to kind of come up, and so what you could do is push the pawn. He's now going to push, and then you win. Yeah. No, but I'm working on one. Not yet. I am working on one though. It's just it's fun to go over these games because these players really. This was a 5 minutes and a 3 second delay, so there was no time added on. So there's no doubt about it. Right about here, NVL is probably maybe into 20 seconds, maybe 15 seconds, and so he's just playing on impulse as well. See, he made another mistake. It's funny. It's like, see, B6 was a blunder by Wesley. King, he should play rather than that. Let me see. Rather than that, he should play. Let's see, instead of D6. Let me see. That's all. Yeah. So that's dubious again. So they're basically just they're playing on increment now. Mate 15 and then A3. There's no way now to stop. Well, I guess you potentially no. There's no way to stop the queen. He's gonna have to give up a. And then a queen. So yeah, that's an interesting game for sure. And you know, congrats to Wesley by winning that. That was a pretty intensive end game, so that was fun to go over. Now we're going to go over. We're doing London studies. The London studies. It's from Play the London system. We're going over games in that so that we can get better into London. So D4, the London starts out D4. I gotta move that there. D4, D5. This is usually there's also knight F6, which is secondary, the best move. It depends. They usually play those. It's either knight, or D5, or they may have a sideline C5. You never know. So if they play kind of odd, just predict that it is a little odd and just play principles at that point. So D5, bishop F6, F4, sorry, not F6, F4, C5, E3. The reverse counter Albin gambit would be E4, and we went over this before on a couple of our other chapters here. So this is kind of a lesson. We're going to try to go through the London System book and learn. I'm learning right alongside with you guys, so we're in it together to get better. So knight C6, C3, because this is actually the formation you want to have for the London, and the bishop out here. So bishop C6, I mean B6, not C6. C6 is there. B3, he's not going to take, because if he does, that'd be silly. Uh-oh. He forgot to develop his knight. Not good. C2. In theory, he could play B5. This is a line that we went over. It's kind of a trick. And then if you take, you lose. So that's a move line that you could actually play. A lot of players really don't know about that. So you guys do now. So knight F6 is played. He's just, the opponent is just developing. There is a interesting move rather than that, like what we talked about. Knight F5 is interesting. That is what he said. See, that's the interesting symbol right there. And So let me see here. There's queen takes f5 with, actually it's funny, this is actually a sclam because you have to have courage to do it. Takes, or takes a, and then b5 is actually somewhat playable. Castle queenside for black. And then here there's knight d e2, which is an interesting move. We marked these in I'm saving these so that you guys later on, when we form a team, you guys can actually go over this. You guys can go over these. So it's beneficial for all you guys. Let's see here. A2. What am I missing here? Oh, my bad. It's not that yet. No wonder. Duh. Okay, it's actually e5. Hold on. And let me see. Castles. Oh, bishop. Hold on. What am I missing here? So b5. So b5 is sclam. Castles. Oh, bishop takes. Sorry. I knew I forgot something. Then e5 with this gets a sclam for black. So 92, which is an interesting move. It's handling this problem here if he takes. Oh, do I like computers? Oh, well, it is helpful, but you shouldn't always. I've come to grips that you shouldn't always rely on a computer. So it's, if you wonder about something, like you're not sure what to do, then a computer is good, because then it'll kind of answer, and then you kind of can figure out what the plan is. So e takes f. Let's see. Hold on. I'm sorry. F takes e. Sorry. F takes e. Or e takes f. That's right. Castle kingside. A6. Oh, a6, b6. There we go. Because now we're threatening mate. So he's got to react to that. Bishop d6 is played. And then knight d2. And the queen is trapped. c7. Queen b3, and there's no more hope, but there is a potential knight e5, which is kind of forced. Queen c2. We're still in this. It's still, the queen's still trapped almost. And now if the knight takes, excuse me, if the knight takes, the knight will take back. And actually, if knight takes here, we win the queen. So I don't know if there's any real way of holding. So he's got to actually take at that point. King takes, f takes e, and then f takes e, and knight h6. Knight h6 here. Or then a sclam idea. White's still good at the end of this line, but black does have two rooks for a queen, so it's going to be an interesting fight, let's just say. There's also back here on move 11, rather than the knight d2 here, knight d2 instead of that one. There's bishop takes e5. Well, did bishop? Yeah, bishop takes e5 is a line. Knight b4. Which is actually surprisingly an exclam move, because it blocks the protection of the queen. Bishop d3, which is a another exclam line, because you're giving up your bishop in theory. You're like, wait a second, you're giving, yeah, but we got to keep a hold of this. Remember, the queen is trapped. So knight takes, queen takes d, and then queen takes a2. It's almost like he's escaped, but no. We're more developed. We have an attack here, we have an attack there, we have an attack here. So potentially we're almost ready for a mating idea. We just need a castle, and then we storm our pawns down the board. Yeah, it's got and we have for what happened, we have an extra pawn, a giant pawn center, an open attack on the king. These 2 points here. So that's the other line that potentially could happen. I'll leave that for you guys to look at. Okay, d7 is played by I mean, not d7, d2 is played for white. Well, that gets an exclam, because now if he tries this idea, it doesn't work, because you can just move your rook. So knight h5, which is an interesting line. In theory, you're wasting a move, but G5 is, oops, I gotta make sure I don't do that. Yeah, G5. I don't want to have any marks there. H6 here, and then H5. I've played this before. Sorry, not, let's see. Oh, okay. I gotcha. Sorry, E2 with an exclam, because if he takes here, so knight to G7 is played, but if he was to take here, you'd just take back, and black has a horrible structure on the king side. The knight can come in and start munching on the H4 pawn, so there's a lot of, and then that's under fire, so potentially if this bishop ever moves, you have some attack there. You even have an attack potentially there, here, you know. So G5 was played. Yeah, this is what, so he did do our line. Here, bishop takes, rook G8 to challenge this pawn here. Bishop F3 to attack and defend. And so that's a line. R, they're saying back here, if plays there, there's another dubious line. F, this is dubious, so we gotta do 2 dubious marks. Dubious and dubious. Because then E takes F, if G takes H, G, now you're eyeing that pawn. There's really no way to protect it, so it would have to be pushed, like H3, and then now you have G3, and we can just bring potentially our bishop back. Bishop back here, knight back here, and then win when this pawn. It's really odd, but a retreating. Oh, yeah. So you have to always think of those things. Okay, so G3. Oh, gotcha. So G3 was played on this one, and then F5 to attack the bishop. I mean the queen. Attack the bishop. That's funny. It's the bishop attacking the queen. E4. Boom. It's like shutting everything down. It looks like this E4 looks like it doesn't actually work, but it does. It's like wow. Because if he takes here, you can actually take there and threaten to, if he pushes, you take the queen, takes. Well, I guess it would be okay. It's kind of different. Let's see, what does it say if Queen C1 is, they're saying Queen C1 is dubious because it's too passive. It's such a passive move. You don't want to play passive in this line. You have to play kind of attacking. You don't want to let your opponent walk all over you. G8, and this gives black a pretty good attack. So this is a good attack for black. So E4 has more of a potential threat of maybe a bishop takes. So after, if takes here, bishop takes, if he tries pushing, you can always just retreat back. So, or maybe just play your queen there. You never know. There's a lot of play that could happen. So G6 is playable, kind of to get out of the pin. And then H4, it's like boom. And he's saying that early G5, when he played G5 to kick this bishop back, really softened up the G pawn, because in theory now this is ability to be taken, because if he pushes, boom, you lose the pawn, because if he pushes, let's say we play there, he pushes, we just take it. So that's why you got to be careful. You got to make sure that pawns, your pawn pushes have a point. Otherwise, there are going to be weaknesses. You can't ever bring a pawn back. So you have to remember that always. And here, they're saying that this actually is a better line. That gets an exclam. F3 is a better line. And it followed with king castling, and then king to H1, and then you fling the pawns up the board. That's what they're, so that's a good move too. So H takes G. They're saying that potentially if you got a little too comfortable and played knight to E6, that would be a mistake, because Queen C1 now is playable because of takes here. You can actually play your knight there, takes. There's an attack coming down the pike right now. A5. This is also a sideline of a sideline. If you take here, this actually loses. Knight takes, D takes, and then boom, there's your fork. Boom, boom. So that's why he didn't play bishop takes, because knight and then takes, and boom, you get a sweet fork, and it's hand shaking at that time. Just shake the hands. E takes and then D takes. This is a weakness now. So knight takes c, and then we now have a potential for implanting our knight there. This is a sclam because it's got so many idea powered thrusts to it. And if this is a losing move, it's a losing move because bishop f3 and it's trapped. One second. Bishop f3 and it's trapped. The queen's trapped, so she can't take here. So that'd be a big time blunder. So that's kind of a trap line if they get a little too high and mighty and play that. If they don't take but play that, now you guys got to see, and you guys can go over this line, these lines if you want as well to learn. That's the whole basis. It's all about learning. Rook takes. Now the forces are starting to flow in. We potentially can go f4, kick the bishop, then play e4, and then potentially once we move the queen we go f6, and it's like crunch, crunch, crunch. And we're holding the advantage. Black castles queenside, and g3. He actually, surprisingly, he does a mistake. It's not a blunder because a double question mark's a blunder. They're saying that potentially in this line here, this actually is the best move. e6 is actually the sclam move for black. It's better than knight. It's better than knight to e5. Actually, sorry, it prevents knight to e5 because if he takes, bishop takes, you're still okay. You have this massive chain, and if he takes there, you can take back, so you're still fine. Okay, so e5 was played for white. Knight takes e5. Oops, sorry, wrong knight. I grabbed the wrong knight. Knight takes e5. Bishop takes e5 with a pin. e7. Bishop e7. Holy ravioli. Really? Oh, duh. What am I thinking? That makes sense. It attacks your rook. So if you take here, you get attacked. But that's kind of, still, in my opinion, hangs a piece. I don't know if that's a really good line. Let me see some. Hold on. I want to make sure I'm doing this correct because, okay, there. So takes, perfect. Bishop takes. So okay. h3. I got to do that. Oh, okay. Oh, that. Okay, gotcha. Okay, e6 instead of e6. I choose there. Okay. All right. h3. h3 is what I was playing. 1 second. Excuse me. f6. h2 is an exclam move. Sometimes you got to be careful with taking pieces because you never know. Never know. And then e5 with a potential tempo. Hold on 1 second. Okay, so there, 19. Oh, I gotcha. Let's see. For example, oh, gotcha. Okay. That's not played. That's right. That's not played. Okay, got it. Okay, instead of h2, if f3, they're saying if not f3, if f4 was played, that's a dubious move because that allows a this tempo to be potentially played with an attack. So if takes, yes, you take there, but there is an attack along there, so you have to be careful. Instead of that, you can't do that. You can't do e5 yet. They're saying that that's an idea, though. So 98 is what they're saying is playable. b3, pawn b3, 96, and f3, and then e5. There's the idea. This is the idea of the. It's a free for all now. So there is so when E is played, let's see here. Not G. What was I playing? No. That. I'm sorry, guys. I pushed the wrong pawn. That makes sense now. It's not. What am I doing? That's funny. It's actually B3. I thought it was G3. D6. Now we're getting somewhere. D6 and then F3, then E5. There we go. Now we got it. But there's also another line when he gets this move to E8. If he plays B3 right now, and then D6, you always have that moving in between E3 move, bishop F3, sorry. And so all of a sudden the king side for black, queen side for black is under fire, and he's feeling the pain a little bit because this is going to bring down some fire. Alright, but he didn't do that. His opponent played knight to h5, and at that point rook takes here, and it's like, what are you talking about? Can't he just take back? Yeah, but then e takes, the knight's under fire, and if the rook takes, which is forced, now you can play knight takes d7, and you've disintegrated the center, and now you're ready for an attack to come. So they're saying after d5, if bishop, oops, we don't want that. If bishop g6 is played to attack the queen, knight takes is an exclam move, because you're saying, fine, take my bishop. Let me take my queen. So if he let's see here, knight 2, okay, b5, and then knight oops, what in the world? Nope, sorry about that, guys. Right there. E takes f, bishop takes b5, c takes b5, and then d takes e. And we're up 2 pawns, and we're basically gonna just crunch now, because if he takes back, we take. And we're up 2 pawns. So let me see here. Let's see, 18. Instead of b5, they're saying, what happens if you take right away, right? That's what you're thinking, right? So takes there, check. A takes b. So now these pawns are crippled, basically. and not much will happen. So you take, then he has to take back, and knight to e5 with a winning forking idea. Bishop g6 to hold the pawn, which is a question mark. It's a mistake. Oops, not there. A mistake. Because that's a reactive move. Then you go a5. What does it say? a6. a6, a6, a6. Oh, my bad. I forgot. All the way over there. a6. There we go. And it's all over. It's almost all over. He's going to have to move. And then what you could do here is just play knight takes discovery. If he comes up, you just take there, and if he takes there, you just take there, and you start gobbling things up. So that's why at this point black's basically doomed. It's over. He has to walk. He can't. This is covered and this is covered. These 2 points. So he has to walk on one of these dark squares, which is a discovery check, which is not fun one bit. Not fun at all. Okay, knight c. Okay, queen to d8. And then knight e3 to attack the rook. And now we've won a pawn, so we're up in a pawn. And e6. And this returns the exchange. It's kind of like it's forced. He can't hold on to the exchange. He can't keep it because it's gonna eventually come to his demise if he does. Like if instead of playing e6, if black plays bishop takes f, bishop takes f, now you're attacking here. G8 to G5, trying his heart out to keep this rook. Bishop f4. Now there's a huge attack coming on this rook, and the rook's like, where do I go? Rook G. It's like, oh man. And then let's see here. D5 is played here. And then knight b8, and so all of a sudden, if you notice, all of black's pieces are on the back rank and why it's fully developed. So he has compensation for all of the moves, all of his attacks. So in theory, black has an exchange, but it's an ugly exchange. So they're saying that potentially at this point here, let's see here, if G6, they're saying G6 kind of do, this is actually a mistake. You're trying to hold on to the position the knight. So like if something was to happen here, maybe you can slide over, pin there, something. But now we take with the queen, and it's like, whoa. What in the world is going on here? Because then all of a sudden he takes back, right? You're like, whoa. And then check. It's like boom. It's like smack. And it's winning. Because he has to intercept. And so now what do we play here? It's pretty interesting. Probably there may be a couple lines maybe that could be played here. Let's see. We could take. It stopped the 1 second. The line stopped at this point. Hold on 1 second. I think my battery's having a little sitch. Hold on. Oops. Let's see here. That's with my mouse. We'll see if I can't. There we go. Sometimes the connection has a problem every once in a while. There we go. So we could, in theory, take, potentially push, and allow him to take. I'm not sure at this point. Probably taking is best, yeah. So the computer does agree with the takes. Yeah, you're up 2 pawns at that point, okay. So basically taking is the proper move. Oops, wait a second. There's one more line. Sorry about that, guys. One more line here for black. It's if he plays d7, trying to save the rook. This is his final saving grace idea. Queen a4. Now we potentially could play and then kick the knight out and come in here with a potential checkmate. So if we played here, the knight went back, we can actually take with the queen and threaten mate. So bishop g7 has to be played kind of to get, so then now we have b5, here we go. And that threatens mate. So like if he does something silly, and we'll just say he plays that, he takes there. Now you're totally winning. Look at all these pawns. That's if he played that, which, and that's if he played a silly move like that. He didn't play that though. I was just showing you if he did, what would happen. And the line stopped there because, excuse me, it's black's getting squashed in that line. So e6 saw both those. Black's like, I ain't going down that. I got to give back the exchange. So at least I can somewhat take back with a pawn, maybe, and stop this monster chain. And black's like, you think you want me to take? Yes, I will take and win back my exchange. I appreciate that. Now the queen takes rather than the pawn. And then king to f1. And the king is now snugly safe away. And there's no way that the queen really can get to him now because his bishop guards. He's out of the center. He's holding everything together. This is a really safe king, safer than this king here. So rook g8, and then boom, b5, or b4 with a sclam, because we're now getting ready for this storm plow of pawns coming down the board. The attack will begin. g6 to attack the queen, and queen a5, a4. And then we take there, and we're just going to totally rout the king's forces. Bishop e4, bishop e4 right there. a6 is, they said, playable, but b5 just shreds the queen side apart, because takes, and then potentially you can at that point check, and you're just shredding everything. So that's why he's trying to see if he can't get some counterplay going on there. But b5 is playing. It's like not gonna happen. And bang! It's like boom. because now we're threatening to win a piece. It's like, uh-oh, you are now in a world of hurt. So the bishop's going to have to come basically to d6, if I'm not mistaken. Let me see. Oh, rook. Oh, so he actually gave up an exchange. Hold on 1 second. Oh, I'm sorry. Wrong knight move. I had it on b8. Sorry. He played d8. Then he went smack. And then he went boom. Then he had check. That's right. That makes sense now. d7. G takes. Because now we're attacking there. We're going to play there. And we're going to see what we can get in exchange for our we're up in exchange. So surprisingly, we were down exchange to begin with. Now we're up in exchange, and I think a pawn. Let me see, 4 pawns versus 6. So we're actually up in exchange and 4 pawns, because 2 pawns is an exchange up, and then we're up 2 pawns. So that's 4. Sweet, sweet, sweet. Bishop d6 has to be played kind of to get your pieces developed, and then g4. And this gets an exclam because what you're doing now is you're locking down h5. He wants to get h5, h4 in, kind of to undermine the structure a little bit, and also to threaten his bishop threatens the g3 pawn. So why not just move it, stop that, because if he plays here, he'll just take. So it's like, oh, what's going on here? And so e8 was played, and with that, this is a mistake. And I will step back for a second and I want you guys to see what did white play, and this basically ended it didn't end the game, but it made him resign because it's basically over at this point. It's not totally over, but this move is a really important move, and I'll give you guys some time to think about it. This is the winning move. You have to see it. I'll give you guys a little bit of time. I'll get a drink of water. I'll let you guys take a sec. Look at the board. You're white. What would you play if you were white? There's a move that wins. Don't be afraid to throw ideas out there. There's no problem, okay? If you guys see the board and you see an idea, this move based wins. It's not a crushing move, but it's one of those silent moves. It's a move that, you know, says to black, I'm in charge. So what move would you play? I'll give you guys a hint. It's a pawn move. So I'll give you guys a little hint on that. It's a pawn move. Now look at all the pawns and see what would be a good move. Ah, great job. That's right. That is the correct move. Good find there. That is an exclam, and that actually seals the game up. There's really nothing. They said that better than the king move, this was losing. There's one line that's better for black. It's if he takes. If he takes here, G takes, and then G5. Oops, bishop, Queen G5. This is black's only chance, but white should still win. There's this still winning for white because of how active his pieces are, and he's up in exchange. But if you notice that the C5 pawn, actually the queen is trapped here. There's no way for the queen to leave. It's all over. She can't move here, 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 or here. So that's why that's why I said it's not a a crushing move, like that you just bring down the hammer. This is a it's a move you're gonna win the queen. So you're gonna win the queen, but that's not crushing, because crushing would be like a checkmate. Like the pieces have to just give up their lives for the king. This wins the queen. I should have actually said that. I apologize, guys. And so that here, the black resigned here, and I think it's like totally crunch. Yeah, that's actually his best move here. And then C takes, and then the bishop comes back and it grabs the pawn, and then you have Queen C, and you're just crunch. It's just you're just smashing at this point. So that, and boom. Now you see why he had to play takes there. It was forced, because then after takes, it gave the queen a flight square on G5. Only way to save the queen was to actually get rid of the knight. But the more you solidify your position down or liquidate down, the stronger white gets. So there's a there's a summary always. We always go back to a summary, and the summary is right here. When white played E4, white didn't play passive. White didn't play queen to C1. White says, you know what? I want to take charge of the game. I want to dictate the game. I want to be the one to set the pace. And he goes, boom, E4. He puts it on the board, E4. And black thought that white was gonna just retreat back and play a passive move. But it probably shocked him a little bit. It shocked white. Probably shocked black when he played E4. Like, what is he actually doing? He's putting a pawn in a pin. What is this? That's not how you play, really, is it? Can you actually do that? Yes, you can, and it's winning. So just remember that. So now we'll do some puzzles, since we went over our lesson. And this was our lesson was based on let's see here. We got to go back right here. It was an early, basically D pawn, D4, D5 pawn. It's based on our lines about D5. That's what this section's about. An early D5. And with a D5, and then here, when that's played, we're saying that this is actually what's usually played early. All right, sweet, good. I'm glad to see you, Economy. So this is what we were talking about, is the C5 move. usually they either play at this point knight to well, I just want to tell you knight f6, and then after e3 then you go e6 usually. But this game was based on not playing e6 or knight to g f6 early. It's an early c5. Okay, but now that we've gone over that, we'll go into puzzles. But I wanted to show you guys kind of what that game was based on. It has a theme behind it. It's an early c5 pawn push. Okay, let's have some fun now on this. I want to make sure. Let me see. Is everything recording okay? Good. All's good. Hold on, I just want to make sure I get that. Just so I have that on there, just in case if you guys have like any games you want to go over, like a game you have that you played, and you want to go over it, you can always input it in the chat, and then like the PDF file, or if you put it into alliedchess.org and you send it, we'll go over it. We'll analyze it, and it's great learning to actually go over your games. Feel like, yep. Holy ravioli! This doesn't. Hey guys, this reminds me of Fabi's position when he was facing Vladimir Kramnik in the Blitz game. Fabi got a position very similar to this, and his idea was to get his queen to h6. This was a Fabi versus Vladimir Kramnik game. Wow, that's cool. Somebody actually played a move sequence like that. But there was a bishop on the board though, so. But it's very similar how the structure's set up, where the queen was and the rooks. That's why it looked very similar. But there was a dark square bishop there, so. But it was really similar. So here, I believe you're right on that. Let's see here. If we play F, I don't think there's a way to avoid. Well, maybe there is. Maybe we're overextending a little bit. Because I'm just a little concerned if we play f4, he takes. Well, I guess if he takes, we win the queen, don't we? Yeah. So yeah, that makes sense perfectly. So. Now we have to decide where to move the king. H1 or H2? I kind of like H2, yeah. I like H2 because that gives us a tempo. If he takes here, we could play there. If he takes here, we can mate. So if we played up here and he took, we played here, he took, we checkmate. Yeah, I like king to H2. Queen to H6 is the only move that is playable here. And then he'll take the pawn and we'll take back. Smack. Gotta love it. think we crunch him if we play knight to f6. Because he comes over here, and then we go crunch. Then we just smash right there with the rook. And if he takes here, we go queen to... no, he can actually go back at that point, can't he? Well, maybe we play there. Maybe that's the... No, because then the knight would take our... excuse me, the knight would take our queen. So if we played here, when we played there, he'd go there. I kind of like this move here, rook takes h6. No, that loses because then the knight could take. Try. If only that knight wasn't there, then we could have that. If only we had two moves, we could checkmate him. If only we had two moves. I think knight. Oh. Oh, we have a fork. Oh, no, we can fix the fork with... Yeah, we have a fork at that point. I think it has to be knight to f6. Yeah, I was looking at that, but I'm not. What do you think, guys? I'm voting. So I think the line goes takes here, takes, queen to h4, threatening the pawn and that pawn with check. So if the king came up here, if the king came up here, the rook would come back here, check, and then we would win a pawn. So I believe rook takes knight at that point is winning. So the line basically would be rook takes e3, takes e3, g takes f6, excuse me, queen h4, king g7, then rook to g3, check, and then king moves, and we pick up. We win a pawn. So I'm believing that. Well, let's try. Wait, hold on. Let's see if there's any way that we can consolidate anything with this, but I'm sure it's that. But we should always just take another look at this here. We'll just take a quick look at. Okay, rook takes h6 check, pawn takes h6. We don't get anything for that. We're down a whole exchange. So nothing. So the only move that seems right is that. This loses everything in the kitchen sink because he just takes there, and we don't really have anything at that point. I'll show you the line. Takes here, takes there. We play here. And if he tries something like that, we bring the rook over, he plays here, and then we can actually, he could double up here. And he has to give up the queen. So the king has to come up here and play there, and the queen has to give her life up to kind of get a check in. We just move, he takes, and then we take, and now we're going to be doubling up there. So yeah, I'll give you guys a sec. I'll be right back. You guys could take a look at this and put your moves in that you think it might be, and we'll go over it. Okie dokie. Thinking potentially, I'm looking at C3, C3, Rook, D1, then we have C2, Rook, C1, Bishop, E3, and we win a piece. That's what I see. What do you guys think? I like the position of my pieces here because the bishop dominates here. Oops, sorry, the bishop dominates here. The bishop dominates here and here. And this bishop dominates these squares. So potentially this could come down the board. The pawn could actually come scooting down the board. If the rook comes here, we push. He can't actually come there, sorry, because the bishop guards that. This, I believe that C3, and even if the king tries to come over there, we can always play bishop here, bishop to distract the king. So like, if we played here, 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 there. If the king takes, then we make a queen with check. So there's a ton of different ideas. Yeah, I believe that's the move. Yeah. Because this would be there's two lines that potentially could arise here. Okay, after we push, turn that off. We got to do it ourselves. That's one line. After this, there's this here. And if he plays there, and at this point we can just actually take back with the pawn, and then if he takes here, we queen. So there's that idea. Yeah, it's fun to do these puzzles. You just have to think it. Hey, you know what? You have to just keep pushing forward. Don't give up. Don't give up. You'll get better. Okay. It just takes time, and sometimes you may have to struggle with the puzzle for a while, and you might have to get up from the computer, walk around, maybe get a drink of water or a soda or something, then come back, get refreshed of mind, and you'll probably be able to solve it. And even if you get it wrong, learn why it's wrong, and then there'll be a puzzle that's similar to that arises later on when you level up, and then you'll know what to do. So Alright. Let's see here. I'm thinking. I think that might potentially be right, but let's see here. Excuse me. Okay, you have to always take. You have to always. This is the first one you gotta. You have to take with is bishop. Queen takes e6. You have to always think about that. Rook takes e6. Sorry. Queen takes e6. Rook takes e6. And ooh, nice. I like that. Ooh, sweet. Wow. Wow. Nice. Nice. That's sweet. Nice. Yeah, I like that. Boom. That's so sweet. There's no way to stop mate if he tries that. You can even queen and allow that to happen, and you still win. That is nice. You gotta love that. That was nice. I like that one. Wow. That was something for sure. It's not that simple, is it? H5. That'd win the queen. The knight has to take at that point. And then our bishop would take, and then the queen would come there. So we'd be up a whole piece in that line. So I think that has to be the move. I believe H5 wins. Maybe I'm wrong. I might be wrong in that one. Oh, drat, I think I am. Because I think the queen can run. Oh, snap. Drat, I missed that. He can actually move there. Snap. So, no, bad. I don't think that works. No. think you're right. I think this. I think you're right about this. I think knight. Yeah, yeah, you're right. Yep, that's right. That is right. Knight e5. Knight e5's the move. Knight e5. Queen has to go to f5. That's right. And then bishop g4, and you win the queen. Yeah. Let's see here. There's two takes. If queen takes, knight takes, and it's equal. If knight takes d3, the queen has to. Alright, well, can we? How can we just move? No, we can't move because that'd be mate. He can then come here. So I'm thinking it's knight takes. I think knight takes, yeah. I think that's the only move that, because this just equalizes. We're just equal at that point. So what in the world? Isn't this a similar position that we had before? That we play up here. I think it's, let's see here. I'm a little concerned if we play here that he doesn't have bishop there. But then we have this here. Bishop retreats back. Then we can play g5. And we trap the bishop, so... Are we okay in that line? I'm not sure. Excuse me. Sorry about drinking in your guys' ear. I think we win if we do that. Yeah, I'm thinking that f5, the worst that would happen is if he plays here, 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 takes, queen takes. Actually, the queen can't take. Yeah, I believe that's the... Oh. Wow. Because this is what I saw here. Oh, true. You snap. You can just take. Huh. Wow. We'll do one more, then I gotta log off. We're doing good, guys. Let's keep this a rolling. Let's keep this. Whoa, the queen was there before. Remember when the queen was here instead of the bishop? That's funny. I know, the queen's here though. It's like... I think it's very similar. See, that shows you certain patterns do arise, guys. Certain patterns. So, if you get the patterns down. Trying to see if we can't take the rook with the bishop. I know. I'm looking to see, is there anything? This is too passive here. That's too passive. We have this and that, but that's way too passive. And how we placed our bishop here and that there is so that we can take it. Yeah, I think that's... Let's see, what do we got here now? What do we got? What do we got? What do we got? thinking that it has to be queen to f6, but we either have that or that, so yeah, we do have a problem. This actually does lose to that. Yeah, that's correct. It's a good thing we took a look, yeah. Oh, true. Well, true. So here, yeah, then he has to take. And then we could take there. Yeah, because that does attack that, doesn't it? Yeah. Yep. I think that's the most aggressive line that we have. Or is it? Well, what? This is an interesting. What happens though if he plays rook there? Guess we still can move our queen to g. And then we can always play our. Then after that we can always play our bishop there and here, and then push there. Yeah, you're right. G6 does drop that, so that has to. Oh no. Oops, hold on. Hold on, I gotta see that. Okay, we'll do one more. Huh. That's different. That's a different puzzle for sure. Queen, he can interpose there. If we go queen, this is just too slow. So I believe that it's well, maybe I think that's, yeah, huh. Because he can take there, can he? Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Yeah. Boy, this is a but the rook can after this line here, after here, let's say he plays there, right? We take, he takes, we take, right? The rook can actually come up and guard. So then the mate threat's gone. I'm thinking that potentially, yeah, that bishop h7 check, and if king takes h7, bishop G5, bishop G5, and you win the queen. But then now we have to calculate if bishop H7, check, king H8, bishop takes G7, check, and I don't know what to do after that. I'm not sure what to do, because then the king will take the bishop, but I'm not sure if we have acquired anything. Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Perfect. Yeah, we're gonna. Do you guys have any questions? Actually, let's go over this line. Oh, wow. Well, that's a. I could do that one without doing. What happens if, let's say it plays there, right? Boom. And everybody's safe. Let me see if our move sequence is right. Let me see if the move sequence is right. So you'd have to block. So let's just say that. Let's just say that we take here. If he takes there, we take there, and then that's basically an idea. Then you have here, you bring the queen over, and you should be somewhat fine. You do win a pawn, but oh, that's pinned. So yeah. Yeah, I see what you're saying. It is better. So the queen, yeah. There we go. And then you basically would have to, at this point, kind of bring this over, and he'd have to come back with a pin. Yeah. Yeah, it's solid to the T. Do you guys have any other questions on this before I log off? It's good to see you, Fox. I'm glad you're doing good. I'm glad you liked it. Okay. Do you have any lines, Fox, you want to go over? Oh, you were? Okay. Well then. Okay, then if everybody is good to go, no more questions, then I will log off. I will give you guys a second if you guys have any other questions. I know everybody else, but I want to make sure that Fox, you don't have any questions on this at all. Nothing? Nope. Well, we'll have to look at if you save that game, we'll have to go over that game tomorrow, okay? If you have that, if you want to go over the game tomorrow, we'll do that. Yeah. So if you want to go over that game, we'll do it tomorrow. Well, what you think? Do you like that? Okay. Well, with that, okay, guys, you know what? Remember, keep studying chess. And you know what? If you guys have games you want to bring along, bring them, and we'll go over them. Remember that you know what? It's not where you start; it's how you finish. And that's the whole entire thing. Is it's you just gotta keep putting in the time. You'll get better. Don't worry about making mistakes. Mistakes are a part of chess, and that's how you learn. Even Jeremy Silman says that you're going to lose a lot of games mini games before you actually get good, because you have to go over those games, or you can kind of save yourself a lot of that problem and go over games of others and see kind of where to do it so that you don't have to lose as many games. I'm going to check one more time to see if anybody put anything in. Okay, there we go. And remember, always, 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 like Hannibal Smith said, you have to think not just about your move or your opponent's move, but what they're going to do maybe 1 or 2 or 3 moves down the road. And you know what? Don't lose focus even when you have the win. That's the time that you start getting people get relaxed, players get relaxed. So don't do that. And remember, like what we talk about coal. Coal ends up becoming a diamond, but it's during that pressure time that makes the coal into a diamond. So just keep that in mind when you feel like I can't go on any longer. Keep moving forward. And so I'll leave you with this. As Wesley So says, through the Lord Jesus, as I say, God bless, and I'll see you next time on Chess Cruncher TV. Have a blessed morning, afternoon, and evening, guys, and I'll be back on, Lord willing, tomorrow. And we'll go over some games of players, and then we'll do our studies and some tactics. And if you guys got games, more the merrier, bring them, and we'll go over those too. So be blessed and keep studying chess, guys. Bye bye.